fam, what's good? I hope the show well and keeping safe. Welcome back to another one. So today I'm gonna find myself reacting to our stream we had over the course of yesterday, right? And then we're gonna dive into the charts and see, what found itself happening, right? So this is gonna be like a nice little review. Okay, if you guys haven't found yourself checking it out, well, now you're checking it out, but in overall, you can also find yourself, just visiting Trader Nick's channel, and you will see there on his live tab whatsoever, and we there, right? We there, but ultimately you can just find yourself visiting it right there. But we are gonna have a reaction on what found itself happening over the course of yesterday. All right, let's go.
Is this simply show you like what I mean, right? I'm gonna give you like just like one or two examples, and then we're gonna get back to the breakdown on the NASDAQ, right? So clearly we can see that price did find itself creating that BOB right over here, right? And we want to find ourselves moving with market structure, because ultimately how I'm looking at it is that this is changing market structure from a bull market to a bear market, from a bear to a bull market as well, right? So all I'm going to simply find myself doing is head over to the lower time frame and see if there's any magnets whatsoever in price, right? So 5 minute nothing. Let me go to the 1 minute time frame and just zoom price up a little bit. Right, so right over here, we can't see that we do have the bearish pattern, right? Bearish pattern will basically be something like that, which will be a point of interest where we wanted to see price have some sort of a shift back to the downside, right?
Once again, fam, you know what? Like when I point out the bearish pattern, right? And when I say that, I'm just looking at price as a simple break and retest, right? Like looking at an overall breaker, right? And just a break and retest like this over here is us basically just changing market structure. All we want to see price do is basically just come back into this area for a shift back down, right? Break and retest. But in this example over here, obviously we do have a we do have a fee value gap, which is lining up right over here. And we can see that price actually found itself tapping within it.
So ultimately, we just want to see something like that. Okay, but what we can basically see is that price did find itself creating some beautiful lower lows and lower highs, right? Some beautiful lower lows and lower highs. Now, these up close candles over here, they are also serving as an actual a order block, right? And if we see a fair value gap within an initial order block, right, that is a significant area as well. And as we can look at what price basically finds itself creating right over here, that with this move to the downside, we can't see any fair value gaps basically lining up within that area right over there, right? But if we're going to find ourselves looking at this area right over here, this beautiful correction impulse, right? Within that area, what can we see? We did find ourselves creating that fair value gap right over there. Price basically came back into it, and we had a further continuation move back towards the downside, right? Over here as well, that we had the impulse, correction impulse, and within that actual area right over there, we also find ourselves creating an actual, a fair value gap. Right, so that right there is basically serving as a point of interest where price can potentially have some sort of initial shift back towards the downside, right? So that is a point of interest, right? A point of interest. And here we can simply see that price then found itself having a tap within that area, and then we had the shift back towards the downside. Now, after that, we basically want to see a change in market structure. Right, so we want to see proper corrections and proper, ultimately proper corrections that is basically being taken up. Right, so this over here be the correction, that will be the impulse, that will be the correction, that will be the impulse, right? And we basically want to see a change in market structure. Now, with this basically being the correction, that if we can find ourselves having a closure below the body of this last down close candle, as we had right over there, you know what, I'm considering that as basically being a change in market structure.
Also, check this out, right? This candle literally found itself gapping out right over there. And we literally had a beautiful shift back up, back into an actual a fair value gap. And from that fair value gap, we had a nice little rejection from that area as well. So that's clean.
Right, and there we can simply see like we retested the area, right? We can just do this for you. This will basically be serving as the breaker, right? So there we basically had the closure below. We came back for the retest, and there you could have find yourself taking advantage of price. Why I'm showing you guys this is that, you know what, you need to see it in hindsight first, go back test it, see a couple of trades, right? And then you can find yourself forward testing it. But ultimately what I'm trying to do is just show you guys like where I'm coming from with the NASDAQ, right? Or,
you know what, in other words, simply just saying that, you know what, gather some data, and from that data you can now see whether you should be you know what to do and what not to do, right? So if you have your data, what can you do with data? You can simply find yourself making predictions, right? And with you being able to make some predictions, this simply means that you have more than enough data backing you up, right? Previous events which find itself happening, you see what is the one thing that is always finding itself happening, right? And based off that, you're going to find yourself making a decision how you can basically better it, right? So, or just simply find yourself using it. In trading, it will basically be to use it, right? So, yeah, you know, gathering some data is super important.
where the NASDAQ is currently. Look at this one as well, right? I think after this one, I'm gonna find myself heading to the NASDAQ. All right, look at this one as well. So once again, right, that right there, the BOB. Okay, and all I'm gonna find myself doing is scale down to a lower time frame, right? And since we had the closure above and we never came back for the retest, right, I'm expecting the retest for a further potential continuation of back towards the upside, basically as we did right over there, right? Now, if I want to look for some beautiful bullish momentum, I want to simply see a nice little shift in market structure as well, right? Basically us creating that higher high, wait for the retest for a potential shift back towards the upside, right?
Once again, break and retest, right? Break and retest.
Now, if we are basically getting dive into
also, like, you know, if you want to find yourself looking at as a breaker as well, perfect, right? Perfect. We're all gonna come to the exact same conclusion. All right.
What PA is showing us right over here as well, right? Check this out as well. Check this out as well. So right there, we can see that we had a beautiful tap, right? But let's dive into what price is basically creating right over here. Okay, so right over here, just like I mentioned, right, if we want to see some bullish momentum, that is ultimately what I'm waiting for, and then a retest for further continuation shift back up. That, and right over here, we can basically see that price did find itself forming, something like that. Right, check this out. Up, then we went down, then we had a beautiful shift back towards the upside, right? So that low has been violated right over there, and the high has been violated right over there as well, right? So we can basically see that the pattern did find itself forming, or the pattern is inside the BOB itself, right? But the moment price basically finds itself having a closure above the body of this candle, we already find ourselves coming back for the retest for that shift back towards the upside, right? So that area won't be considered as being quite significant, right? Even if you're going to find yourself looking at what we find ourselves creating over here as well, right? We find ourselves having a swing low. That swing low has also been violated right over there. We had a swing high, which was violated. We also had a closure above that candle right over there as well. We did find ourselves having that pullback, and then we can see that we had a further continuation back up, right? So this simply means that this area is also not as significant, right? So what are you going to do now? Now, all you're going to find yourself looking at is for other type of magnets within this area, right? And right over here, we can basically see that we do have an inversion fair value gap right over here. That
a magnet, right? A magnet is simply an untested area, right? So if an area is already being tested, then, you know what, I just simply look at that area as not being as significant as an area which is untested, right? So when you hear the term magnet, simply results to an actual area that is untested, okay?
inversion fair value gap is literally, you know, what happened with previous price level, right? So if I'm basically going to box out that area like that, and just simply extend it, that here we can simply see that price did find itself coming back into the area. Well, we come back there. Not, we didn't tap into there, right? But clearly we did find ourselves tapping into that area right over there as well. Right now, obviously, if you would want to find yourself going long right over there, it would be a high risk trade. Right? It will be a high risk trade. You want to find yourself waiting for that change in market structure once again. Right? So there we can simply see that price did find itself having the tap within the area, and then we had a shift to the upside. Where would I then find myself entering price? Way deep, way right over here, right? So once again, same principle. There we had this.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, like it is actually kind of weird, you know, or it feels weird to be reacting to myself. Like it feels crazy.
Low, that swing low was violated, right? There we had a swing high. That swing high has been violated, right? That body was basically being taken out right over there, right? So how you would have found, or where you would have found yourself entering PA, will basically be these up close candles, which we have found ourselves forming right over there, will be serving as your breaker, right? So with it tap into your actual breaker, this is where you will find yourself looking on taking price long, right? And right there, you guys can see that with us basically having the tap within the area, we did find ourselves in having that shift towards the upside, right? We can see that we had that shift towards the upside. Are you still with me? Are you still with me? Am I going too fast? Let me know. Let me know. Now, let's scale to the weekly time frame at where we are currently with PA. Right? Let me know. Am I moving too fast or you still with me? So on the weekly time frame, right, once again, same thing. We can basically see that we did find ourselves creating the BOB right over there, right over there. So simply, you know what, we do want to see price basically have the impulse correction impulse, right? But just like I mentioned, right, a BOB is basically changing market structure from bullish to bearish, from bearish to bullish, right? And over here, we basically did find ourselves creating one over here as well, right? A BOB, which we find ourselves pushing through, right? We basically violated that area. But with us basically violating that area right over there, we can simply see that we did find ourselves creating a beautiful swing low right over there as well. So you can box out that swing low just like that, right? We also had a swing high right over there, which has been violated as well. Right? So clearly over here, this will basically be the bearish pattern. Check this out. If I can maybe just use it like that, and that, right? And maybe just hide the charts so that you guys can see the pattern, right? So over here, you guys can simply see that we did have that change in market structure, right? So what I'm simply expecting is some sort of initial pullback and then have that shift back towards the downside. And a potential area will basically be back into a premium area, which will basically be this region right over there. And so if I can get my charts back up, just like that, that it will basically be back into this area right over here, right? We do have a free value gap lining up right over there as well, right? So we're gonna box that out as a point of interest, right? As a point of interest to where the NASDAQ can potentially find itself heading back into, right? Because I am from the Western Cape, my brother. Because I am from the Western Cape.
Hey yo, like I must say, like to SA, you know what? Like we in the building, right? I see that many people are from SA. Many people are asking, "Yo, dude, well, you from CPT whatsoever?" You know, I see a lot of those comments. So yeah, shout out South Africa, man. Shout out.
Chain stuff, right? So now we already have an initial point of interest, like above price, the way the NASDAQ can potentially find itself heading back into, right? But now we do have a BOB over here as well, right? So literally the exact same thing, which I found myself pointing out earlier on the lower time frame, is literally the exact same thing which we can use on a higher time frame, right? So over here, let's look at price, right? Let's identify what's happening over here with price. That now we can simply see that we did find ourselves having a beautiful swing low over here as well, which was violated right over there. Nice little swing low, which was violated. If you want to look at that swing low, that's violated. That we also did find ourselves having a beautiful swing high right over there as well, which was violated. That I ultimately want to look at the up close candles with the sexual trend right over there. Right. So the moment price basically finds itself having a closure above the body of this candle right over there, our breaker was basically activated, right? So these up close candles right over there was serving as the breaker. So right there, we found ourselves coming back into the breaker, and right there, we found ourselves having a shift back towards the upside, right? So that point of interest was tested, right? That point of interest was tested. The next point of interest was basically.
So since that area was tested, is that significant? Is that not significant? That is not as significant. All right.
This free value gap, well, inversion free value gap, which price have found itself creating right over there, right? So can you guys see, once we find ourselves having that closure above the inversion free value gap, we never came back for the retest. Keep in mind that this is lining up within a BOP, right? So if you see these type of patterns finding itself lining up within a BOP, these are basically points of interest where you can be like, okay, if price is going to tap into this area, we can potentially have some sort of a shift from this area whatsoever, right? And there we can see that, you know what, over
yo, like I always find myself being nervous, right? And I'm not gonna lie, like I'm always nervous before, well, with doing an actual stream, right? With being in front of, even though it's just a number that I'm seeing, right? It's still like I'm talking to a lot of people in front of me, right? So I'm like the feeling inside is kind of, you know, like my heart is beating fast, you know. I'm just nervous, right? I'm just nervous in general, and that's just to find myself expressing myself, right? Um, and yeah, you know, doing it like this is it's not as bad because I'm not seeing anyone, right? It's literally just me, myself. Well, in the back of my mind, I do know that I will upload this, right? But with me basically seeing the people, you know what it is, it's you know, it is kind of getting to me. But right over here, right over here, you know what, in the element, I'm locked in, you know what. We're going. Oh, right. Nice, well done, D.
it was like last week, some that we tapped into the area, the point of interest, and then we had a beautiful shift back towards the upside. Right? Then we had a beautiful shift back towards the upside. Now, over the course of this week, with us basically having a tap from this area onwards, we have faked out from this previous area of support, now basically turned into well, it remained as an area of support, right? So I was expecting a push and then a shove back up. However, I also did find myself boxing out, you know what, this inversion fair value gap, which we have found ourselves creating right over here as well, right? And as you guys can see over the course of yesterday, right, what did we find ourselves do, right? So over the course of yesterday, we have found ourselves coming all the way back down, back into this point of interest right over there. That I have found myself going long from here, but then you know what? We also did find ourselves getting stopped out of break even right over there, right? So I basically went long right over there, right? And then on the lower time frame, we just simply had like a deeper push back down right over there. So I was taken up right there. right? And then just after that, we had the shift. That's a nah. That's a nah. But anyhow, we basically find ourselves tapping within the inversion fair value gap, that, and then we had a reaction, and then we had a push towards the upside. Right now, what can we basically see is finding itself happening on the Nasdaq at this current moment, right? So if we can basically find ourselves having a beautiful bullish closure on this beautiful pair over the course of the day, right, I will then expect price to have some sort of a pushback towards the downside for a potential further continuation move back up, right? So scaling through my H4 time frame, the only thing we need to find ourselves waiting for is basically a change in market structure, right? And can we see price had a change in market structure? Yes, we can, right? Yes, we can. Over the course of yesterday, what I wanted to see price do was simply take out these equal highs right over there. I think price was like fluctuating right over here. I wanted to see price have that shift back up, right? Take out those highs, then have a shift back down for potential move back up, right? But unfortunately, we didn't find ourselves doing that. We did, however, find ourselves taking out our liquidity, our sell side liquidity, which is coming through right over there, and did find ourselves tapping within the point of interest, right? And we had that beautiful shift back towards the upside. So clearly, what we can see at this current point on the Nasdaq is that we are what in market structure. Would you guys say that we are bullish in market structure? Would you guys say that
we bullish, G? We bullish.
We are we bullish or are we bearish?
We bearish, bro.
Beautiful.
What are you talking about? We bearish. We can't go up. Right, bearish, bro.
This area right over here as my relatively equal highs. That now I basically have a simple outlook when it comes down to equal lows and equal highs. That Nasdaq longs, beautiful. That we are bullish in market structure as well. Right now I have this simple principle when it comes down to equal lows and equal highs, that we do have liquidity resting above and below these areas, right? So after taking out some equal lows or equal highs, I'm expecting price to have some sort of a reaction in the opposite direction. So that simply means the pullback. You know, ultimately it's just the pullback. Because now what we can see price did was we basically had this high, lower high, and now we find ourselves creating that higher high right over there as well. So we are bullish in market structure when it comes down to this beautiful pair called the Nasdaq, right? This beautiful pair called the Nasdaq. And since we are finding ourselves taking out these beautiful highs, right? We can't just of yet get out that Fibonacci. We can't get out that Fibonacci just of yet, right? So the moment we can see that we are having some sort of initial pullback, right, some sort of a rejection, guys, keep in mind that we can just simply find ourselves having a further continuation move back towards the upside, and then from this area onwards only have that potential shift back down. That you also need to keep that in mind. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that if we can see that pushback towards the downside, a point of interest will simply be back into an actual discounted area, right? Because this is simply where price is finding itself being quite cheap, right? Because ultimately, how I'm looking at it is that we are having that higher high. We need some sort of initial pullback for a potential shift back towards the upside, right? Now, points of interest, which I am currently having on the Nasdaq, will basically be these up close candles right here, which we have found ourselves creating right there. Did we come back in this inversion? Yes.
So like what does that mean, right? When I'm basically saying that this is a potential point of interest, I'm basically saying that, you know what, if we can find ourselves having a pushback into this area on the lower time frame, since I am a scalper, I'll just simply wait for a change in market structure, right? From what to what? From bear to bull, right? And once we are bullish, I will just simply find myself participating with price.
We already tested it. Right, so we will basically be looking for some sort of a rejection from this area onwards. But if we can see that further continuation go back down, that right there will actually be super nice, right? Because if we can look below price right over here, we also did find ourselves creating another actual breaker, right? And this is in a nice deep discounted area, right? You can just mark it off as an area of demand, like in a nice deep little discounted area, right? So if we can see that push back towards the downside inside this area, you know what, I won't be surprised about that. But ultimately, I would like to see some beautiful long still finding itself opening up over the course of today, right? So first point of interest, we'll look for a rejection from this area onwards. Second of all will be this area, a rejection from from that region right over there. All right, you guys with me? Yeah, understand.
Hey, yo, like with me basically looking at myself, looking at what I just found myself doing right now, right? I'm trying to be like, okay, if I was a trader that I didn't know like what's, I do have a little bit of information, but not as much, right? Do I understand what I'm basically trying to say? And I must say that I have a clear understanding, right? Maybe it's because I know it, right? But yeah, it just makes sense, right? It just makes sense what I'm saying. Like, does it make sense to each and every single one of you? Like, if you are a trader who knows a little bit of trading, does it make sense? If you are someone who does not know anything about trading, like, does this make sense to each and every single one of you? Because ultimately, you know what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you guys like points of interest to where you can potentially participate with price, right? Because these are the areas which I have in mind, right? And with me basically having these areas in mind and showing you guys that this is literally happening like all the time, right? You can simply go on your charts, backtest it, and you can now see it all the time. And once you see it, then you can just simply find yourself participating with price, right? Easy, easy.
Which brokerage am I using?
Maybe I should skip a little bit forward over here.
Beautiful,
or are we done?
Longs from the.
Oh yeah, we done.
High.
I did find
So
myself looking
as
at,
usual,
I actually looked at the
pull up.
DXY as well, right?
Time is good over here. Cool.
Did I look
Thank
at
you,
the
thank you, thank
DXY?
you.
Yes, this
So,
was the DXY.
Fab, listen, I'm only trading the NASDAQ and the DXY, right? So what I'm gonna find myself doing is simply just breaking down the two pairs between each other, right? I found myself towards the downside on
But
the DXY.
ultimately on the DXY, what I basically just pointed out was, you know what, we were traveling over here with price, right? And I wanted to see price come all the way back into this inversion fair value gap to have a shift back towards the downside, potentially back into this point of interest, which we have found ourselves boxing out, I think like 2 weeks ago. When it comes down to the DXY on the Sunday breakdowns, which we are finding ourselves, you know, which I am uploading to each and every single one of you. So yeah, you know, that was ultimately it when it comes down to that that session which we find ourselves having, right? I think it was pretty dope. I found myself enjoying it, right? Now let's tap into what is happening or what found itself happening from there onwards, right? So over here, if I can maybe just find myself doing the following, like that, right? Check this out. So the area I basically found myself boxing out was this inversion fair value gap, which we found ourselves creating over there. So price was literally fluctuating at this area. We came back into the inversion fair value gap and we did find ourselves having a beautiful shift back towards the downside. Now, one thing that you need to find yourself, you know, taking into consideration is that I'm not trying to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow whatsoever, right? What I'm trying to figure out is where can we potentially go with price, and then I'm going to find myself taking advantage of price on the NASDAQ, right? So I'm looking at volume and how I can basically participate with volume on the NASDAQ, because once again, I am a scalp trader, right? I want to see where can I potentially find myself taking price into. And there we can see that we had the beautiful shift back towards the downside. And with the NASDAQ, well, with the DXY having the shift back towards the downside, what will you find yourself looking at when it comes down to the NASDAQ? You will be looking out for some beautiful longs, right? And that's the main reasoning to why I also found myself looking for some longs. If you're going to look at the content which I have uploaded, right? Trading FOMC. So there we can basically see that we had that beautiful, beautiful shift back towards the downside. Now let's look at what is currently happening, right? Now let's see what is currently happening on the DXY. So on the DXY right now, we can simply see that we are having a beautiful, beautiful shift towards the upside from this area whatsoever, right? And looking at my H4 time frame, right, all I will wait for is a closure, right? And if we can have that closure above, that will basically be great, right? And since we are having this beautiful push towards the upside, this is like a signature that on the NASDAQ, we need some sort of a push back towards the downside, right? So if the NASDAQ is not finding itself having that push towards the downside as if now, right, then I am waiting for the NASDAQ to find itself opening up, right? If both of them are finding themselves moving towards the upside, one of them has to give, right? And how will you know which one has to give, right? It's simply, you know, you're just going to look at market structure, right? You're just going to look at market structure. So in overall, right over here, right, we can basically see that we are, it looks like we want to find ourselves changing market structure to be, well, to bullish, right? And we can basically see on the lower time frame, right, such as the 2-hourly time frame, that we had a closure above this region right over there. So clearly we are bullish, right? So we can potentially then just see a dip back towards the downside, at least back into a, you know what, once again, back into a discounted area, right? So if I can maybe do that and maybe just box out this area right over here, like that, right? That right there is also serving as a potential point of interest, right? So a shift back to the downside for further continuation, move back up, right? All I am doing is looking at market structure. That's it, fam. That's literally it, right? So let's go to the NASDAQ and see what's happening on the NASDAQ, right? Let's see. Does that make sense to what I basically just found myself covering on the DXY? Right now on the NASDAQ, looking at our, let me go to the daily time frame, right? And once again, let me show you guys what I found myself trying to present, right? So right there, we basically had our point of interest, right? And basically the BOB, right there, we had the BOB. We did find ourselves having our pattern as well, you know, lining up within the actual BOB, like that. And with that being said, we had a beautiful shift back towards the upside. So this simply means that we have found ourselves changing market structure, and a push back towards the downside back into this area will be appreciated, right? Simply because this is now serving as my, you know, at my area of demand, right? And from this area onwards, I would like to see some further continuation moves back towards the upside, right? I would like to see some further continuation moves back towards the upside. Because one thing you also need to keep in mind is that, you know what, we are inside a new month, right? If you would like to see that further continuation move back towards the downside, you know what, we need to create a wick for a potential further continuation move back down, right? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right. Keep that in mind. So if we can basically see the pullback over the course of today, right, what does this mean? Tomorrow we do have NFP coming through, right? So then, you know what, with NFP, we may find ourselves then having that beautiful further continuation move back towards the upside, right? So with us basically establishing, or like with us basically saying that the DXY is finding itself having a change in structure, having a push towards the upside, right? That right there should be correlating with some beautiful shorts, right? And at this current moment, we can see that it looks like we want to find ourselves having that actual pushback towards the downside, right? So looking at market structure on the H4 time frame, we can simply see that, you know what, liquidity has been taken out right over there, right? Our sell side liquidity, our buy side liquidity right over there has been taken out as well, right? And not only was the buy side liquidity being taken, but you know what, we also find ourselves having that change in market structure, right? We had the high, lower high, higher high, as we basically pointed out. So all I'm gonna find myself doing now is just simply wait and see, can we have that actual shift back towards the downside, right? Can we potentially see the Nasdaq have that shift back towards the downside? And a point of interest, you know, looking at current PA over here will basically be this beautiful area which we have found ourselves creating right over there, which is also serving as a breaker. Not only is it serving as a breaker, but you know what, we also find ourselves, you know, lining up within a discounted area. All right, we are also lining up within a discounted area. So if we can see that pullback, this will basically be a beautiful point of interest where I would like to see the Nasdaq basically head back into, right? And let me see, do we have some points of interest about price? We actually do have, right? It will be that candle right over there. Boom, right? So these will basically be the 2 points of interest which I will have my eye out on, right? But ultimately, I would actually like to see some shorts finding itself opening up over the course of today, right, during the New York session. And you know what, hopefully NFP over the course of tomorrow, we can find ourselves be looking for some beautiful long opportunities whatsoever. All right, but other than that, you know what, it's fine to find ourselves being quite predictive when it comes down to price, but you know what, that right there is not it, right? That's not what's gonna make you nice, right? You have to find yourself being reactive with what price is presenting to you, right? So that right there was my reaction. And getting back to the charts, you guys can clearly see how I'm basically looking at the charts, how we are finding ourselves playing out here and there whatsoever. You know, we're not always going to be right, but I just want you to have, you know, what's going on over here, right? I just want you to see what I'm seeing whatsoever. And when you see it, you can't unsee it, right? And then we all see it. We're all good. So other than that, fam, I hope you have found yourself enjoying this, which I found myself doing over the course of today, right? And trade safe. Till next time, it's me, your boy D. I'm out.